So we're in St Martin's Church, the burial place of Sir Winston Spencer Churchill.
Well, he's buried in the grounds with his family. But if you have a look at this church, I mean, it's a humble church, but you can feel the presence here. I feel the presence of God. I feel that I'm lifted just to be here, honoured to be here at 8 years of age.
It shows.
That I can stand in a church knowing that everything he's done for me, and he's done an awful lot, that I can stand here and give thanks. Now, out there in the grounds is the burial place of Winston Churchill. He was a man who could have been buried in Westminster Abbey.
I assumed he was. The memorial service was there.
No, the memorial service was here, but the burial service was in this church here.
I did not know that.
Now, his grave is just outside, and it's a very humble situation that a man that could have had so much wanted so little. And really, when you look at life, you want this, you've got to have that, I've got to have the latest iPhone, I've got to have that woman, I've got to have that money, I've got to have that house, I've got to have everything. So you're never really satisfied with what you got. How can God give you anything if you've already decided what you want?
Yeah, I'm afraid the illusion has to be busted first. You've
That's
got
right.
to come a cropper in some fashion.
In some way, you've got to be brought to your knees.
And yeah, quite. Because where do you surrender?
That's right.
On your knees.
On your knees. And when you start to go down...
Even big, strong guys surrender.
That's right.
Because there's...
That's right.
Yeah.
You know, and I can't understand people wanting to sort of like not take on board that the greatest physician, doctor, teacher, philanthropist, you name whatever you want to name as the greatest of anything, and he's standing at your door.
Yeah.
And he says, I stand at the door and knock. If you open the door, I will come and sup with you. I'll come and eat with you.
Yeah.
You understand?
I do.
But people shut the door. Go away, I'll deal with you tomorrow. I'll deal with you when there's a funeral. I'll deal with you when there's a baptism. But that's as far as it goes.
Yeah.
Deal with him now. Open the door now.
Yeah, in a desperate attempt to outrun ourselves, our own demons, I think we leave God out of the equation. And life is very much designed to be complicated, and I think that's on purpose, so that people do not think, because if we thought of just all this wonder and beauty and majesty that we're surrounded by absolutely everywhere we look, we'd go, my God, there is a God, and I've been so foolish.
But you see people get waylaid along the way.
Oh yeah.
They get waylaid by drugs, by money.
Guilty. Guilty.
Money, by women,
Four
by
wives,
gambling,
guilty.
by every other thing.
No, not gambling.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
And they fall on the floor, and when they fall on the floor, they cry out for help but they're not genuine. You see, they play the percentage game. I'll acknowledge you when I need you, but when I don't need you, I can't acknowledge you. So if you can accept that, we can have a relationship, we can have a connection. But then what happens is, the person then thinks, I need a bit more of this, so I'm going to give a little bit more. Yes. So they play the percentage game. Yeah. I'll give you 45%. Well, if you give 45%, I promise you that's all you're going to get back. And until you give 100%, you ain't going to get nothing really.
Yeah, I cut a deal because I was desperate. Because life was hanging in the balance, and they said, you're going to die. And I said, nah. When I was in the hospital with the liver failure and everything, and I said, if God wanted me dead, I'd be dead already. But then I had to back that up because I've said it now. Yeah. So I got mean and I got cantankerous, and so we got out of there. But I cut a deal with God, 100%. I belong to you now. I work for you now. Do what you want with me, but please let me live, because when I died for a minute, the alternative to getting sent back here to do it properly was absolutely unthinkable, and I suspect you know exactly what that feels like, because you met Christ in your darkest
dark moment.
Dark moment. Perhaps not your darkest hour, but when your guard was down, I mean,
people say you find Christ.
He's
You
fine.
don't find him, he's been there all the time.
He has been there. He has been there. Yeah, and it was that the Bob Dylan song "Knocking on Heaven's
on
Door"
Heaven's Door, yeah, that was the
that
one I
prompted
think,
you
yeah.
to have a look under the bed.
Well, I really got into music,
Yeah.
and the music I got into was made me really think a lot, called The Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah, Pink Floyd.
Yeah, Pink Floyd. And then I got into sort of like other stuff like Van Morrison,
Yes.
a man called Al Stewart.
Yeah.
And I got into all these, Martin, what's his name? He was a folk singer called
Gordon
Richard.
Richard Thompson.
No, Martin, his name was.
Oh.
At the end of the day. But anyway,
I'm sorry.
They were using words. And then Marvin Gaye brought this, before he'd sang that song, it'd always been 2 up, 2 down, but wop, wop, wop. But then he came out with the one, What's Going On?
Yeah. That's a great
And
album.
open up his heart to everything. You know, mercy, mercy me. I really spoke with God on vinyl in a way that I'd ever heard anybody do before.
No.
And it was very, very profound.
Because it was so honest.
You've got it. And then what happened was, I thought about some of the words and stuff like that, and then began to read him. He was a preacher's son, a minister's son.
Is that song "A Son of a Preacher Man That Does Do Springfield Song"?
Yeah.
Is that about him?
Yeah, you know, what he did, he got into drugs very heavily.
I know. I knew someone
With
who
the
knew
music.
him in his final days in
With the music
Amsterdam.
and everything else,
Yeah.
and lost his way entirely.
You have an observation regarding his daddy shooting him.
Yeah.
That was the first
Well,
time I'd ever heard before.
But what happened was, he went away and he got rehabilitated.
Yes.
But then Barry Gordy brought him back into the music world. Said, we need you here. And sent him out on tours where once again the evil influences came in with the drugs and everything else. So then what he did, he went back to his father and spoke to him. And he said, Father, I can't beat it. You know, it destroyed me. And he turned around and said, I can't let the devil have you. And he shot his son dead. And his brother said, we lost 2 people today. 2 people died. My father died and my brother died. You understand? Addiction doesn't want you on your own. It wants your wife, your father, your mother.
It's had them all too.
Your brothers and sisters.
It's had them all.
It affects them all.
It's had them all, courtesy of my poor decision making.
understand?
Yes.
You may think it's affecting you or somebody being in prison.
Well, actually, I thought I was really good at it. That's why.
Yeah, but that's right. Because you're in ignorance.
Yeah.
You understand what
Yeah,
I'm
I mean,
saying?
providing you can function and do your tiny little thing, and everybody leaves you alone, either because you're too cantankerous or that they can't tell.
That's right.
But you get away with it for a certain amount of years. But you know when you've been got by the proverbials, and it don't let go. But you have to lose those chains because you cannot progress.
Listen, 1 mile from here, or maybe less than that, maybe, is a place called the Ley Community. Mm-hmm. It's had to shut down and sell half of its property. We'll be going there shortly.
Yes, we will.
And the reason being is government funding has gone. They would rather send people to prison than send them to a rehabilitation centre, which can cure them, give them friends for life, bring them out of London, bring them out of Glasgow, bring them out of Nottingham. That place was really doing that, but the funding was gone. So it cost us to put somebody in prison. I think it's something like maybe £1,000, £900 a week.
Pardon me.
In the league, it costs a quarter of that. So, you know...
Where's the economic sense in that then?
There is none. But the prisons are full, you've got knife crime, there's more drugs in prison than there is out on the street. You know,
yeah, but there's cameras everywhere, so
Is
people are getting caught.
What about the drones going in and everything else? You've got
Yeah,
all
because the
that kind of
cameras
stuff
weren't
going on.
invasive enough as it was.
Yeah,
They
that's
weren't.
right.
They weren't at all offensive.
But they're still getting by the cameras because now you've no longer got the old soldiers running the prison system like they did in the old days. What you've got is the general public are going to work in prisons with a good, you know, a good kind of feeling that they could help.
Yes.
Then they find they can't. and they meet a guy or a girl in prison, they turn around and said, you know, could you get me this, could you get me that? And they feel sympathy and sorrow and get whatever they want. So there's so much going in and out. It's totally a corrupt system.
Yeah, you said there's a lot of drugs in prison at the moment, which
Yeah.
I can see why.
Look, I'll tell you why, on one occasion.
Right.
I'll give you an example. You had a man called Blunkett.
Yeah, I remember him. He was a blind fellow.
A blind fellow. He was he worked in the Home Office.
Okay.
And he brought in a prison sentence called, what was it? Instead of giving you, they gave you got 3 years, but the parole board had to be there to free you. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so you would go in front of the parole board when you'd done your 3 years, and they'd say, well, we don't think you're ready yet. You go back in, and some people have done 12 years that were only given 2. You understand?
Yes.
I've seen people, because I've been one who's gone down to London, to Wandsworth, to Brixton, to all the prisons, Pentonville, and brought them out of them prisons and brought them up here to the rehab, and they've sorted their life out.
Yeah.
And they're good members of the community now. They've got proper relationships. They know how to deal with things.
That's a phrase of yours. Good citizen.
Yes, they are. Well, how many people speak about being a good citizen today?
Well,
you know, it's a word
since
you don't
when
hear.
I heard you say it on a thing, I think the last time I heard somebody say that was Christopher Reeve when I was about 4 in Superman, you know, or something like
But
that.
that's right. But it was a word that was commonly used in
Yes,
the
it
past.
was.
Now it's, you know, bro or something else like that.
Blood.
Or
Blood. Yeah, because we're
Or oh, you get over there.
yeah, because we're all from Queens, aren't we?
Yeah.
You know, I could pretend to be a Brooklyn Jew for the next hour and a half, but it's going to annoy you. That's not right either.
No.
We do not speak like that, and you do not hold guns sideways.
Yeah, that's
you
right.
will miss.
Yeah.
What is that?
Probably it yourself.
What's that about?
No, so I look at all the kind of different divisions and what could be done and what isn't done. I mean, I look at old people today, and the truth is, it's so sad. You go into the supermarket, some of them old folk have not spoke to somebody all day long. And the girl at the cashier counter, she's, you know, a few kind words or whatever. Yeah, it's just...
Infirmity's been very kind to me that way, because I know I used to move at the speed of 1,000 panthers. Now it's snail at best, and so you notice more when you don't.
I mean,
I speak to old people.
Yeah,
I love old people.
Yeah,
that's the trouble. See, when you give up drugs,
yeah,
and alcohol, you fall in love with everything if it don't kill you.
Yeah,
providing the experience don't kill you,
yeah.
you fall in love with everything because God made it.
Yeah, but you see,
especially people
as well. I mean, then you've got youngsters. They don't really know where they are anymore. They're locked in where we used to go out and play and do all things together. You from a young age, you know, we had a proper structure and everything.
Yes, we did.
And we had craftsmen.
Yes. You would go on an
We don't have crafts. We've got a computer now. You know, and
yeah, but it's virtual. It's vicarious. It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Not really.
Well,
it's in the ether and everything.
Yeah, that's right.
But
we will come back to these things.
We'll have to.
We will have to.
Because we've become a bit present company excluded, because you are a fine, upstanding citizen who's been tried, tested many times, and may I say, dear listeners at Flame and Councillor Scoundrels, in the Thorncross Young Offenders Institute, this man has been tried and tested, and he has passed every single one of them with flying colours. Incredibly inspirational human being who now, with the massive amount of empathy that he feels, gives out to other people. I think that's lovely. I think that's one of the loveliest stories I've heard.
The Iroquois Indians make a blanket, and they always leave one strand undone. They say only God is perfect. We've all got our faults. You should ask my wife. You should ask my kids.
You could ask my wife, but you'd require a week.
Yeah.
Just for a list.
Yeah.
Bullet points even. I'm awful. I'm awful.
I mean,
still. That's why I ask you to pray for me before I come on.
Is people tell you they know about love. What is love?
God.
God is love, but if you look at the world today, it's that woman, it's money, it's having my phone in my hand. It's got to be the biggest, got to be the best.
I ain't got
got
one.
to be all that kind of thing.
I ain't got one, I smashed it.
I can't leave it at home. I'm lost without it and everything else like that. And you see people walking along the street, they've got it there. The world does not exist.
No. They're so rude, though. They're so rude. That's really rude. Yes.
Now, all that
selfies
love isn't about looking into each other's eyes or looking at these objects. It's looking in the same direction. The family that looks together looks in the same direction. Maybe I've interpreted the words different, because one time they used to say, the family that prays together stays together.
It's a shame we've got to secularise it, innit, to get it across.
That's right, but that's the way it is. You understand me?
Yeah, I do.
No.
I do, because part of being a deeply religious supposed entertainer is to try and talk God to people for an hour and a half, cunningly disguised as light entertainment. Like,
how many people?
It's where you get imaginative, but yeah, it's God and love is the message, but it's philanthropic love. It's agape. It's not lust.
Agape is sitting down and eating a meal together and being part of a family.
Yeah,
that is agape. But you see,
brotherly love,
when you speak to God, how do you speak to him?
In my head.
In your head. I'm speaking to God now. God is in every person.
I can see him in your eyes more than I can in most people's, which actually worries me, Mr. Lambrianou, because like every time I watch a film of you, you're so sincere,
but
and eloquent.
That's truth.
Yes, I know that, but can you do it one more time without it killing you? Because like, what happened? How did somebody as lovely as you manage to get so much experience of prisons, prison life, human beings, their little foibles and flaws, in order that you might, once you'd sorted yourself out, assist them for the rest of your natural life, which you seem to have done, you know.
When I first came out, I went and stood at New Street Station. I didn't know how people were interacting with each other. You follow me?
I do.
I had not been part of life for many, many years.
Yeah,
I've been a monk, you understand?
Yeah, I was drunk for 20 years.
I looked out and I saw the interaction of people meeting, coming off a train, of actually kind of greeting each other, saying goodbye, and people going off to school, youngsters saying goodbye to mum and dad, and all that kind of stuff. This was the real world.
It's like trying to bluff your way in on the first day of a job, isn't it? Like,
that's right.
Like when you went up on the roof and you met old Joe.
Yeah, old
and
Joe.
Old Joe's standing there. Well, he don't know what he's doing either. He's been standing there for 3 days.
Yeah,
and then you decide that he knows about carpentry and you're the best labourer in the world, so maybe you could do something.
But we can make together.
Yeah, quite.
But not only that, I can learn from Joe. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
He's not going to get a job because he's black. I'm not going to get a job because I'm an ex-con. You understand what I'm saying?
Starting there on isms, because someone's got an ism about ex-cons. Someone had, hopefully in the past, an ism about black people.
Yeah.
And bubble and squeaks, I do believe.
Yeah.
As you refer to them in your extremely enlightening tone.
But you see, look, I'm working. I've got a job. They've employed me as a carpenter.
Yeah.
I did carpentry when I was at school, but I was never any good at it, really.
You weren't interested in it?
I was not interested. Now my life depends on it. So what I do, I'm looking and I'm trying, but I know I've failed.
Yeah.
I've made the right mess. So I'm going to go and have a cup of coffee, think things over, and accept I'm down the bottom and the only way is up. But it ain't going to be there. And as I walk back, I see this guy with a boiler suit, a little black guy with a boiler suit done up to there and a trilby out on. And I went up to him and I said, excuse me, I said, what are you doing here? I said, I've seen you here for 3 or 4 days. He said, well, I work for C&E Roofing. He said, I'm waiting for him to give me a job. I said, come with me. There's a real idiot who works for his company. I said, and look at the mess he's made there. I want to see if you can straighten that up. And I walked away not believing he could, because he was a carpenter. Why wasn't he working? And I come back and he'd done the most perfect job. And I said, you really are a carpenter? He said, yeah. He said, I worked for Pebble Mill. And they closed Pebble Mill down, or they made me redundant, and I've taken this job. And I thought, I can be honest with this guy. I said, you're not working, I said, because you're black. And I'm not working because I'm not a carpenter. I said, but Joe, I'm the best labourer you'll ever meet. Can we work together?
Yeah.
And he taught me so much. This little black guy, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. I do know exactly what you're saying, because I worked in an office. I worked in the, I mean, apart from being a rock and roller at weekends, I worked in the old Lambeth workhouse. You were in a workhouse when you was a kid. I was in the old Lambeth workhouse where Charlie Chaplin and his brother Sidney were at.
Yeah.
In a movie
that's
archive.
where we were.
In a movie archive. The old Lambeth workhouse.
Yeah.
Master's House, 2 Dugard Way, Renfrew Road, London, SW.
Yeah.
Yeah. I worked in there for 5 years.
Did you
that
really?
building is as cold as stone.
I noticed.
Right? And I went down to £112. That nearly killed me working there.
Yeah.
Right? That building is evil.
Yeah.
I promise. After 5 years, I had to quit or die.
And that's what they used to do.
That building was
People
getting
in there. And my father couldn't live there. He had to find somewhere else to live. I mean, our roof just caved in with bomb damage.
Everyone there was a moral degenerate and didn't
that's
realise
right.
it.
Yeah.
But this was like a job, or this was like a movie archive.
Yeah.
And when I did the rehab the first time, I thought, this is just idolatry. This is rubbish. This is silly.
Yeah.
Collections of idolatry.
Yeah.
No wonder the man's got a coffin underneath his stairs. He's weird, right? And I went out, and for a year I did the landscape gardening, and then I went up on the roofs, and I learnt to do all that to try and feel like a bloke.
Yeah.
Instead of a kid at the pictures. I was 30, for God's sake, so go outside and start getting your hands dirty.
It's like Joe, I turned around and said to him, Joe, you and I could do piecework. So he said, well, in what way? I said, well, I'll get a chainsaw and we can go through these beams. I said, and there's a lot of money in piecework. He said, we're craftsmen, not butchers. And so, I mean, you can learn from everybody. That's the love of life. That it doesn't matter who they are. Everybody's got a story to tell. Don't sit in judgment on anybody until you know that person.
How can I?
And you know what they've done.
I'm so flawed.
Yeah. I mean, a man that was something 50 years ago won't be the same man today. He'd gone through all this kind of self-recognition. I couldn't go out, so I went in. And I got lots of prejudices out and everything else. And people that I kind of...
By in, do you mean introspection?
Yeah.
You went inside yourself?
Yeah, I went inside myself, yeah.
Well,
music was a big bonus.
Yeah, I've got a theory about that, especially now I can't move. No, you can't outrun yourself, so wherever you're standing, dig, mine.
Yeah.
There is a mother lode. The further you go down, you will hit gold before you hit hell.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
You'll hit gold before you hit hell, that's guaranteed.
I'll tell you what you'll hit. You'll hit wisdom, which comes with time.
And the Book of Proverbs.
Yeah, and the Book of Proverbs.
Which you told me about.
Which I think everybody should read that.
Yeah, you've recommended that, and what did you say? A brother is born to serve a friend in need.
That's right, a time of need.
That's right.
And that's exactly what happened in my life. It didn't matter which way I turned, there was always somebody there for me.
Yes.
It didn't matter what rank they were. Yes. If you're doing the right thing, everything will turn out all right. You're doing the wrong thing, you're only going to finish up in one place. If you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. If it's failure, you're going to get more failure. If it's success, you're going to get more success.
That's actually the dictionary definition of addiction and idiocy, to keep repeating the same thing over and over again, people continually expecting different results.
Yeah, and you don't get them.
No, of course not.
You can't.
You can't. You've got to mess with the formula. You've got to tinker.
Yeah.
Work in progress.
Here we are. We're sitting in God's house.
Yeah, we are.
He's our judge. Whether we do right or wrong, and one day we'll have to stand up and account for ourselves. But I've got a theory about that too. My father, he went through hell for me, not only for me, for my brothers. And one day he came to see me in prison and he said, Chris, he said, you broke my hand. I said, Dad, I wouldn't hurt you for the world. How did I break your hand? He said, you're in prison. Tony's in prison. Nicky's in prison. If you have a look. Yeah, I have 5 sons. And I often go down to a place called Waddesdon Manor, which is owned by the Rothschilds. On most of the buildings, there's a quiver full of arrows,
yes.
Which is 5 sons.
That's correct, because he had...
It's biblical, that.
Yeah.
And so, my father was given 5 sons.
It means Red Shield, doesn't it, Rothschild?
Yeah.
Red Shield.
We should have actually achieved so much. But we did. We straightened up. We're still family. I've got lost 3 brothers.
Sorry.
You know, but
I'm sorry, but it only takes one of us to knock the wall down with our head. Yeah.
I know where they are, and I'm going to see them again.
All of them?
Yeah, no doubt about that.
All of them?
Yeah, because I'll tell you.
Even Tony, I've been praying about Tony.
Look, let me tell you something. My father, go through everything he went through.
Yeah.
He didn't have a car, he couldn't drive. Bus and train to Durham, to the Isle of Wight, to Leicester. See one day, another day, another day. Yeah, that takes a lot of courage, a lot of guts to face that.
Yes.
And I still remember he used to go on with the train robbers' wives and all the other boys.
Yes.
And they all thought the absolute world of him. And I'd rejected him when I was a young man. But he was the only one who really stood by me through all them dark days. And at the end of the day, how can I put it? He suffered. He cried. He loved. He lost. All these things. But he still continued with great courage to love that was damaged and everything else. And he passed away whilst I was in prison.
Yes.
And Tony and I, some people we knew, messed the escort up, so we lost the escort. So we're sitting in the car.
Got a bottle of brandy.
Yeah, and we're sitting there and we're talking. And I said to Tony, what do you think? There's nobody around us, we're free, we're 2 KA men free. And he turned around and said, Chris, we come to bury our dad.
That's it.
We're going to go through with this service. We're not running. It'd have hit all the papers, it'd have been all everywhere. The people who took us out would have been in great trouble.
I think you'd have turned it into a circus.
Yeah, it would have been a circus, but we turned it into something
dignified.
And they knew that. The authorities knew that.
I've very much got the... And very shortly afterwards, they apologised to you for doing you a disservice, for underestimating your sensitivity.
That's right.
Especially when you had to break it to a prisoner that his young wife had been killed, I believe, in an auto wreck.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And they picked you, or you volunteered, I believe, and you held him and he let out this most primeval scream, you said.
The screw said to me, you're a friend of Turner's, aren't you? And I wasn't at that time.
Is it Tubbsy or something?
Tubbsy Turner. Yeah. And he turned around and I said, why? He said, well, his wife died in Harris today, she had a heart attack. So I saw a screw going up the stairs, a medical bag, but he had a syringe and everything else in there. And I said, stop him, I'm going up there. And he went, I said, no, you stop him. I ran up past the screw and I said, you stay there, don't come anywhere near. I'll do that. And as I walked down the corridor, Tubbsy was outside cleaning his mat and that, cleaning himself out. And I said, right, Tony, you okay? And he went, yeah, Chris. I said, come here, I need to speak to you. And he came in the cell, I sat on the bed and I put my arm around him. And I said, this is the most difficult thing I've ever done. And he went, what's wrong, Chris? I said, Tone, I said, and he could see tears started to come down my eyes. He could see that I was, something that really, you know, moved me. And I said, your wife died today, Tone. I'm sorry to tell you this, but I'm here with you. And he couldn't take it in, first of all. Yeah. And then this scream came up from deep inside him. And I've got him, so he can't hurt himself. Yeah. He can't lash out or anything else. He was quite a big guy.
What made you know that you was the bloke for the job?
Because I came from where he came from.
But you have always been a natural leader of...
Well, you just got to do... If something happens, you've got to do something about it. Yeah. Because otherwise it can turn out 10 times worse.
Yeah. When the minute you let something out of your control...
Look, let me tell you something. Abraham is walking through the desert with his people.
Yes.
And somebody asked him about his staff. So he said, I'll show you something. And he threw the staff on the floor and it turned into a snake. Yeah. Out of hand, it's out of control.
Yeah.
He picked the staff up. He could lean on it. It gave him strength. You know, it was a symbol of power.
Yeah.
Out of hand, it's out of control. Yeah. And I was just able to do that. I knew what was right.
Because you knew what was right.
You understand?
Yeah.
What did that guy need to be laughed at, need to be kind of
insulted? No, I just mean it takes a tremendous amount of self-confidence and courage to think, it's all right.
You're not thinking about you.
This. No, of course you ain't.
You're not thinking about you. You're nothing. You understand what I mean?
When was the last time you thought of you?
Yeah, no, I don't know.
1983?
1983, yeah. I want to forget about 1983.
Now we're in this holy place.
Yeah. And it is a holy place.
Obviously, they're a smaller fish than Mr. Churchill. Far smaller fish than Mr. Churchill. The Krays being two such fish, I believe they're fish. You are such a nice... What happened?
God happened.
At risk of profaning this place, right?
Yeah.
Listen, what happened?
Because he lives in you. You understand what I'm saying? You've got to acknowledge that. And you're not seeing me as I was. You're seeing him. If there's anything I do decent, if there's anything I do honourable, he's doing it. He's taught me what to do. He tells me what to do.
I understand.
I listen.
Yeah, you conduit.
Yeah, that's right.
Your channel.
I'm just a conduit.
Make me a channel of your peace. How many times you sang that and then expected it to... Well, he gives it you.
That's right, yeah.
Ask and you shall receive.
You want gifts.
Whoops.
He can give you gifts like you've never had. But you've got to have your hands ready to receive them.
I'm afraid so.
And a lot of people don't even know how to open their heart or their hands or anything. They're closed.
Yeah.
They're frightened to let themselves go.
Not your heart.
The percentage game. They're frightened to let themselves go and be what he wants them to be. So they suffer in silence.
Yeah.
And think, well, what's wrong? I could have done that better. Well, maybe I should have seen that in another way. They chose the way, you understand what I mean? They took it out of his hands. You've got free will.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yes.
You understand? That's
I consider myself a conscript, not a volunteer. God said,
right,
you do that. And I said, yes, Joshua Francis, appalling physical condition, how may I help you? But
then you become a soldier of God.
Oh, yeah.
You understand?
Oh, you die.
That's right.
There ain't no. I don't care if I die in the middle of shows. I ain't got no immune system. I'll go and hug entire rooms full of sweaty men.
Yeah.
If it kills me, it kills me. But it won't, because we're on a mission.
And yet I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Well,
I've been there. Out evil.
And I'm still here.
Without my rod and my staff and my comfort, still, but out of control, it might turn into a snake.
But you've got to control the spirit. You know, the spirit is a wild thing. It's
nefesh. It's the breath of God.
Yeah.
Ruach HaKodesh, whatever
the real spirit is the Holy Spirit.
I've done it liven you up though.
Oh, it's amazing experience. When you receive the gift of the Holy Spirit, it's just
Now-
something else, like nothing on earth.
I couldn't help but notice from the autobiography that in order to while away the hours and convince yourself that various appalling ideas were good plans, you referred to the occasional use of amphetamines and other such
Yes, I
stimulants.
did, yeah, I did.
And I suppose everybody at the time was doing it,
Yeah.
except him,
Yeah.
because he's always been straight
Yeah, but-
as a die. And
At the 60s, it was like that, rock and roll.
I know.
You wanted to stay up all night long, you know, so you got into that world.
Yes.
And you wouldn't sleep for 3 or 4 days.
No, it was, yeah, I bet, yeah.
You know, so that was part of...
What would you say though? Compare Coke or Charlie or what, you know, Whiz or
Yeah.
amphetamines, speed, to the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
There is no comparison, is there? And you
Oh
also
no, let me tell you something.
don't talk rubbish for the next 3 hours as well. Yeah.
If you could bottle what the Holy Spirit does for you and give it to somebody, they'd want it all their life. You understand? They'd need it every day. From the time they woke up till the time they went to bed.
Yeah.
You can laugh and really enjoy laughter.
I do.
You can cry at your own
God's got a
mistakes.
terrific sense of
You
humour.
understand what I mean? Sensitivity and everything. You've got it all. It's amazing.
I think when you've been a bigger buffoon as me and you just held your hands
Yeah.
up and I was like, yeah, I did all of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely all of it. Yes,
Yeah,
that was me.
yeah.
And you confess, and that's it.
Yeah.
See, then you are no longer a hypocrite, no flies on me,
Yeah.
protect the innocent,
Yeah.
leave entire chapters out if necessary,
Yeah.
but the bits concerning me, tell the truth.
Yeah.
And let's just testify, right? Because I'm accountable for me, whether I'm sane or not, to him.
Yeah, but you're also accountable to me.
Yes, I am.
You're accountable to your children, to your wife, to your
I'm
father.
afraid I'm not been blessed with children, sir, but
Well,
I do have a wife,
But
yes.
you have a father.
Oh, yes, I
You
do. He's
understand
wonderful.
what I'm saying? That's right. So you are accountable.
Yes, I am, aren't I?
Yes, you are. And then sometimes you've got to go back and examine what made you do something. Because I weren't quite right there. I was wrong. And just to say you was wrong makes you human.
Yes,
You understand what I mean? Laugh at yourself.
I do.
Because you're the best joke there is.
I know. I know. That's actually what's happened at Flame. The Norman who runs it,
Yeah.
used to be Radio Caroline. He realised I had a penchant for self-deprecating humour,
Yeah.
and that he's, rather than go and see a psychiatrist, he suggested I go and see a professional comedian who diagnosed me as a surrealist. So you write, okay,
Yeah.
if I'm a silly boy,
Yeah.
I'll write something silly, thus
Yeah.
exercising the silliness, and
Yeah.
then, you know, if I'll come speak to you, I'll be relatively sensible.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of sides to people. They are unique, and I feel very much that we're pressured to fit in. And that's a really silly idea because God bothered to make us all unique.
I'm going to ask you a
and everything.
question. I told you about my father.
Yes.
Now, my father is also God.
He's now.
But if I was the worst person on the world,
With those eyes, I doubt it.
if I was, would he forgive me?
Yep. Died for you, didn't he?
So maybe this is hell.
I've heard you say that before. I have
And
thought
maybe
of-
heaven is the place we go to after we've learned all the lessons. And maybe stand there and maybe everything falls off, our clothing, everything, it's all laying there on the floor.
This is a stretch, isn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly what. I've come to the conclusion it is.
I think I kind of realised it in a very primitive way when I was 4, and they sent me to
Yeah.
school because like he had me reading, and then you're back
Yeah.
to flashcards, and it feels like
Yeah.
a regression. And I'm thinking like, in my own little 4-year-old way,
Yeah,
I got a 14-year stretch just for being there.
yeah,
I'm expected to stay in this place
Yeah.
for the next 14 years
Yeah.
just for being there.
yeah,
Excuse me, nobody asked me. And I think that's also, you know, where rebellious stands for. But life is like that, and if we could view it, and that our tribunal is actually our parole,
yeah,
and then we're fit to fly,
yeah, that's right.
quite literally.
Yeah. So,
And then we're immortal.
yeah,
Just got to die first.
yeah, that's right. And then wait in the waiting room.
Yeah.
See?
Maybe this is it, though, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe.
I hope so.
I like to think that.
Yeah.
No, I'd like to think that.
Yes.
Because there's, even amongst the very worst people, there is goodness.
I tell you what, this is better than the doctors for a waiting room.
Yeah, this is, yeah.
The receptionist doesn't treat me like a 4-year-old.
No.
It was you, actually. You were the receptionist standing outside.
No, it's
Mr. Lambrianou, at risk of hurting yourself, and for those who don't know, because hopefully they've been living good and Christian lives and know absolutely nothing about the underworld or whatever, I can only surmise that you were briefly involved with, but kind of tarnished with forever.
Yeah, that's right.
There are people that refer to you. There was this perfectly nice guy, sat down on a garden bench, interviewed you without notes, which I thought was impressive, so I thought I'd copy him, right? And then he puts underneath former Kray henchman.
Yeah, that's right.
Pardon me, that is the most honest... Hang on, he's over here. Orson, where are you? He's the most honest... You've called him that?
Yeah.
I was glad he weren't there.
But not only that, there's even been some that have kind of like, oh, I'm legend, I'm this, that and the other. No, I'm Chris. You understand what I'm saying? A man who's come on a journey.
Yeah.
And it's different to a lot of other journeys. But at least I'm out on the street 35 years.
You ain't been back in the dock once since 1983, have you? I bet you.
No, I haven't. So tell me why Christ...
Because you let
Did prison work? No, it didn't. No. You understand what I mean? Did probation
That is where the school and hospital aspect.
Christ worked.
Yeah.
You understand what I mean? He rehabilitated me.
He made you, didn't he?
Yeah. He told me there was a better way of life.
Mr. Lambrianou and I left the serene setting of St. Martin's Church, Blaydon, with its natural reverberation adding extra authority to his voice, and beautiful stained glass windows, technicolour and lit by God, including a particularly impressive recent addition unveiled by the Duchess of Cornwall in 2015. I was then shown the final resting place of Sir Winston Leonard Spencer Churchill, 1874 to 1965. We were both wearing pinky rings. He'd clocked mine, a menorah. And I was most relieved to see that far from being a naughty boy accessory, he was declaring his Christian ministry, golden upon his meaty digit. We shook hands on our shared vocation, standing aside the grave of the greatest Briton ever. As starts to the day go, Mr. Lambrianou sure knows how to show an idealist a good time. Chris then took my dad and I to a location where he remembers putting up concrete posts on work detail whilst at a young offenders institute at the age of 17. Finding the post still there, he beamed. To think, I put that there 30 years ago. Chris, you're 80, said I bravely. That was 63 years ago. For the first and only time that day, Mr. Lambrianou looked sheepish, no pun intended. And looking up, smiled, and proudly patted the post and said, "Yeah, I laid this 63 years ago." Everything about that fence was wonky or overgrown except that post. The last post. The last post standing. The last man standing. Rehab. What's the difference? Speaking of which... Chris then took us to the Ley Community, a treatment facility, an oasis for contemplation and convalescence, affording patients freedom from the clutches of addiction that is unfortunately closed at present due to lack of funds. All those lives ruined despite their heroic victories over addiction at the stroke of a pen for a measly £1 million. Someone out there have a heart, please. Chris and I settle on Jason's bench to discuss the community's dire straits But it's not money for nothing I can hear in my head, however. It's ghost town by the specials. I decide not to tell Chris. He looks moved enough already. This place is clearly very special to him. Very close to his heart. Due to my chronic fatigue syndrome, no doubt aided and abetted by my long, but fortunately long-lost addictions, at 34 years his junior I sit ravaged and try not to fall off the bench in front of a fellow far more robust than I. Come the finish of this interview, my legs buckled as I tried to stand, and he offered to help me down the stairs. An octogenarian offered to help me down the stairs. Yeah, but Chris Lambrianou is no old man. And was I embarrassed? Hell no. I was so impressed that I went out and bought a St. Christopher in his honour. I'm wearing it now. Some people you just don't forget. Ever. You ended in St. Martin's Church there most profoundly, and we are now at the Ley Community, where you've worked for many years helping young people especially recover from traumatic experiences such as drugs and alcohol addictions. If Mr. DeMille would like to do a panoramic sweep these rather splendid surroundings. Unfortunately, due to circumstances beyond our control, this place is not very busy today, is it, Mr. Lambrianou?
No. In actual fact, sadly, the funding wasn't available to keep the place open. So what they've had to do is literally sell off half the place to have enough money to sustain it.
For how long?
And, well, I mean, the grounds are worth a fantastic amount. So the funding, the money that they get out of this place when they sell it, will bring in enough so that people can be helped and come in. It will cut the residents from maybe around about 60 to around about 30.
Oh dear.
But
is there any sort of Blues Brothers mission that could be done, like
I don't know,
only with slightly fewer car accidents to help it?
We've got people, and I only last week or the week before last, I went down to London and we had a raffle and a congregation of people there giving money, and we raised £600, which we gave to the Ley. We've also had money coming in from all sorts of places, because that's what I've been doing, is trying to get funding for them. Right. So really, I mean, it's never nearly enough. Never.
No.
It just helps to do something with the residents, but this place, I can tell
anything that I can do to help, like appear for nothing and sing at any of these things.
It's all. We've had everybody doing something. You know, they've done everything.
Just want to feel useful.
Film stars and singers like yourself and other people have done loads of stuff, and it's just, you know, still couldn't sustain itself because it needs funding. But what you've got is they'd rather put people in prison.
Why?
Where it's going to cost them an absolute fortune. It doesn't work. People come here, they're safe.
I've been saying that for 30 years.
They can be themselves. They can turn around, they can go inside, they can bring it all out and not feel ashamed or not feel frightened to share their, you know, the terrors that they've been through with other people.
Ashamed of what? They got, the world played them and they fell down a hole.
That's right, they fell down a hole and got back out of it again and sought help. And there's so many kids in prison, both boys and girls, that could be here. There's alcoholics, their marriages are broken up and everything else. Their wives despair on knowing what to do. They could have come here and got their life sorted out. Instead, some of them, they feel so rejected, they're out on the street, they get themselves into drugs. To get their drugs, they've got to go and commit crimes. That's the world we live in. A very uncaring world. It doesn't care nothing about nobody. All of, I've got the latest iPhone, have I got this, have I got that, have I got this? And I've got to put food on the table.
Now that's important.
Yeah, that is important.
But the rest of it isn't. But
we've got footballers in this country, they're earning $350,000 a week.
Do not get my grandfather on that subject.
Don't get me on it, you understand what I mean? There's a lot of wealth in this country. But these kind of people here...
It's disproportionate.
They're the people that nobody wants to help. Very few people cross the road, and even fewer stay there. Well, let me tell you, I didn't want to cross this road. Well, I want with people with drug problems and all that kind of thing. But God puts his soldiers on the front line.
He does, yeah.
And my parole officer had been trying to get me. I had that job, I was quite happy, driving a JCB and all the rest of it. And he said, Chris, I want to take you somewhere. And he took me around Oxford, hostels and places like that. Nobody really wanted me.
No.
And then, by chance, he said, I've just got to drop into Ley Community. I come here and I met the director. And he said, Chris, would you like to be a volunteer? So I said, yeah, I'd love to be a volunteer. And my first job was taking a guy to court, a guy called Terry. So I took him down to Epsom Crown Court. But on the way down, I got talking to him, and it turns out he was a twin.
Oh dear.
Now, I've got twins.
Yes, you do.
And I went away for twins.
Yes, you did.
So they play a big part in my life. And I thought, you know, what is it about this kid? Tell me about yourself. He was adopted, him and his twin brother, by a teacher and her husband who worked for British Aerospace. They were brought up as good as they could have been, and the father died of a heart attack.
I'm sorry.
Leaving the lady to take care of these two boys. Well, they then got in with other kids and all the rest of it, and the other kids were taking drugs. So they thought, oh yeah, let's have a laugh, let's take a few drugs and all that kind of thing. The next thing you know, they're hooked. They're on heroin and so on and so forth.
Well, that's how it works, because it just starts off as your best friend, and it like Chris Christopherson says, it helps make you through the night and all that.
That's right.
But it turns into your worst enemy, and it's not considerate enough to tell you to point a switch.
That's right. It doesn't do that.
No, it's insidious.
And a kid in there turned around and told me, I said, what's heroin like? He said, it wants you, it wants your family, it wants your wife, your children, your parents, it wants everybody. And it does destroy. And it does destroy them.
You never tried it?
No,
me neither. No, because I've never tried heroin nor crack, because I know that both of them would kill me.
Yeah, I tried speed.
Oh yeah.
And that was okay because it kept you going.
Yeah, when you've drunk too much and you can't carry on, you have to
get a little straightener. But you see the other thing as well. So I'm taking this boy down to court at Epsom Crown Court. So I said, would you like to go and see your mum? So he said, yeah. Do you really mean that? I said, yes. Anyway, I went to this lovely little cottage house, flowers around the door, met this most wonderful lady. And, you know, she told me she despaired her two boys. They were her sons. Although they were adopted, they were like her flesh and blood. And she had tears in her eyes. She said, please see if you can help him. I said, I'll do my best. I knew I was in the right place. And I got up in front of a High Court judge, and I said, I'm from the Ley Community. He's done the conditional residence. We think we can help him. He wants to help him. I've met his family, who I can assure you want this more than anything, and would be very grateful if you gave him this chance today. He said, Mr. Lambrianou, I've got to go away and deliberate. And he come back, and he said, I've listened to your heartfelt plea. He said, and I'm going to give him the conditional residence. I'm going to allow him to go back to the Ley Community for as long as he need be. As long as he need be might be 9 months, 12 months, 2 years.
Really?
Whatever it was, the judge was saying, go for it. And me to go in front of a High Court judge.
Yeah,
and he's listening to me, because when I was at the Old Bailey, nobody listened to me.
Well, to be fair, your hands were a little tied, weren't they, from what you said?
Yeah.
There was conflicting loyalties.
That's right.
And you felt compelled to keep stum.
That's right.
And I get the feeling from your book that you were, by the time you finished your sentence, you were in two minds whether that was a very good idea or not.
Well, it couldn't have been any other idea, because that was the only world I knew.
Yeah.
You understand what I mean?
I do.
I don't put myself in that position.
You've got to hold something sacred.
Yeah. I don't put myself in that position anymore.
You didn't put you in that position.
No, but I don't put myself in that position where I can be vulnerable to anything like that. So when I came out of prison and Charlie Kray rang me up and said, we've got everything sorted down there, come down with us. I said, Charlie, I'm not interested. He went, don't be silly. He said, we've got it all. I said, have you really, Charlie?
He died in jail, didn't he?
I've got it up here. I said, I've got my children, I've got my wife, I've got my home, I've got everything I need, and I've got good friends. He said, Chris, you really mean it, don't you? I said, yeah. And I walked backwards.
Yeah. But what did he want your help with? That cocaine thing that he got put away for? He died in jail, didn't he?
He had it all. Did he have it all? You know, what was he want dealing with cocaine?
Mr. Lambrianou, thank you for also never having a comedy haircut.
Yeah.
What was the matter with that bloke's barnet?
Don't know.
I
don't know.
Was he a nice man, though, Charlie Kray?
Charlie Kray was a lovely man.
I got the feeling he was well spoken
I'll
and
tell you
gentle.
something.
And old man Charlie, was he nice?
Yeah, another nice man. He got fitted up.
Yeah.
Old man Charlie Kray, when the press were bothering my dad, turned around and said, leave him alone. He's an innocent man. What do you want to do? Plague him? Make him unhappy? He's already unhappy. Yeah. You know, really stood up for my dad.
Why did he get in it? He had everything, like you said.
Yeah.
Was the greedy?
No, it wasn't that at all.
No?
What it was, he got introduced to some people and he was acting Charlie Big Nuts.
Ah.
You understand what I'm saying?
I do understand it.
And...
is he fallen for his own legend?
Yeah, he fell into his own legend, yeah.
Oh dear.
But he was a man, Charlie, couldn't do bird.
Could he not?
He didn't like it.
I don't even...
When we were kicking off at Albany Prison in the riots, he turned around and he said, Chris, he said, please leave me out of this.
Yeah.
He said, I just want to get out of my family.
Okay.
And that's exactly what he meant.
So, he's sane,
But
right?
he couldn't get away from the celebrity.
No, but he's sane.
Yeah.
The other two.
Yeah.
Ronnie, could he ever be mistook for a sane person?
No.
Ever?
No.
Like,
no.
Could he ever pull off like half an hour? Ronnie, please pretend just to be sane for half an hour. Could you? Could he do that? Or was he?
Yes, he could do that. But the thing was, if he took his medicine,
Yes.
if he didn't take his medicine, he was out of control.
Was he completely deviant, do you think? Or was there a nice bit to him?
There was a good bit to Ronnie, very generous kind of soul. The other thing as well with him, he how can I put it? He was just a mess, really. You understand what
See,
I'm
I
saying?
read his book and I couldn't find
Yeah.
it. I couldn't find him evil.
No,
I couldn't.
no, because that's not the way he was.
They put God in like every other page. They've got God on
Yeah,
it.
that's right.
Like it's got a W in
Yeah,
it.
that's right. Yeah, but I mean, Reggie became a born-again Christian.
Yeah, I know.
You understand me? So you've got all that kind of aspect going on. But one was tortured. You've got Reggie was absolutely tortured by the loss of his wife. You understand what I'm saying?
I do.
So he started to drink heavily. He started to take speed. And one thing leads to another. Speed can make you very aggressive. So, you know,
Yeah.
there was all that. But
There was a lot of amphetamines and a lot of alcohol.
that's right. And that's how they were
And
surviving.
no one to say,
Yeah.
Reg, that's a really
Come
bad
back.
idea, mate.
Yeah, no.
Because
No.
he's Reg Kray.
But they wouldn't listen.
No, and I
They
expect Ron's
wouldn't listen
encouraging
anyway.
him.
Yeah. They had some people around them were encouraging them and some people walking backwards.
But I think you find that you get sycophants anything.
Yeah.
But you were never one of them.
No, I was never one of them.
You got
But
right.
I was not in the firm.
No.
I was living in Birmingham.
No.
And
But
what happened
yes, you
was,
have. You were up the.
I came
up the
down.
M6.
I came down to visit my dad because we lost my mum.
Yes.
And I'd been down that week, but I met a friend of mine up there called Ray Mills, and he said, "Chris, come down." He said, "Tony's never met me, and you've never met my brother Ray. Just come down for the weekend." "No, I'm not coming down. I'll come down next week, please, Chris." You know, and it is a good friend. And I thought, oh, so what the hell? Anyway, coming down that week was, you know, just it killed me.
Yeah.
Yeah, 15 years. That's
Yeah.
what I got.
Oh.
But you see, the thing was, in my depositions, it says, Mr. Nipper Reed, we know you had nothing to do with this. Tell us about it. I said, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you put that in your biography. Yeah.
Tell us what you know, what happened, and you nor your brothers would do any time. They wanted us as witnesses. You understand?
Yes.
Rather than Ronnie Hart, who actually handed Reggie Kray the knife.
And he was blood and all.
Yeah, he was blood and all. And he finished up not doing a day.
Not one day?
Not one day. He didn't do a day.
How long did he live?
I think he committed suicide about 7 or 8 years ago.
8 years ago?
Yeah.
Not. See, how come no one whacked him?
People understood, I think. People understood why they did things. To get themselves out.
Had the twins not got pinched, do you think they would have eventually been eliminated because they was getting a bit unruly?
I don't know, really. They were liked by a lot of people.
They were still liked.
Yeah, they were still liked by a lot of people.
The romanticism of it.
Although there was then people, there was a number of people who called them thief sponsors.
Yeah.
And wanted nothing to do with them. Like me, I didn't want nothing to do with them, really.
No.
But when they got my brother down in their company, I'm wondering what they're going to do to him if I don't go down there.
Well, you said very early on in the book. Very early on in the book, he was your baby. That's
right. Yeah.
Your
I'd
mama
always
said
looked after him.
He's your baby now.
Him, and I did till the day he died.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, boy.
Yeah, just the way, you know.
I love the way though. At it was remembering Tony Lambrianou, and there was a bunch of stuff, said some nice things. You managed to use almost your entire segment to talk about Jesus, which I thought was
I did,
and I thought fair play to you, mate.
Because after someone's died, what else is left?
Quite.
You understand what I mean?
We're all, like as you said, we're all little bits of God, temporarily detached, and then we join up with the tree of life again.
That's right. But you see, Jesus is hope. Hope that I'm going to see my brother in the next world. He's hope that I see my father. He's hope that I can live a good life.
Did Tony iron it out as well as you have?
No.
Oh dear.
No. He ironed his life out. He was a celebrity. He did lots of good work, charitable work. But did he believe? And I said to him, he said to me, Chris, whatever you do, please don't bring that God stuff up.
Oh really?
Yeah. He didn't want nothing to do with it. But I could not. He saved me. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I needed to express it. I needed to share it.
How many friends would you have been prepared to lose on for Jesus' sake?
Well, I wasn't going to lose Jesus.
No, for Jesus' sake, how many friends were you prepared to lose? Because
how many? I wasn't going to lose Jesus.
I lost all mine.
Yeah, well, I might have lost all mine.
Because you've changed, didn't you?
Right,
You changed, and they go, what?
Yeah, but I didn't need their world.
Oh, you did not.
Yeah, I had a nice world. I had a job that I loved here, and I've not finished telling you the story about what happened when I took that guy to court, the teacher's son, the twin.
See his mum.
So I bring him back here, and we've got, I'm in there all the time. Are you doing right, Terry? How's things happening? Everything's, Chris, great. Thank you very much. No, you're right, Terry. So I may look in on him once a day or whatever. And I come in one day, and Mike Howard, the probation officer, said to me, Terry's done a runner. Because there's no bars here. If you go down the drive, they call the police and make the police aware. It's what they had to do.
Yes.
That somebody had not completed the programme here, and they'd go in front of a judge, and they'd get the sentence that the judge was going to give them anyway. So it'd
be a really foolish thing to do to leave, though.
Yeah, you've got a chance.
But addiction's like that, though. It makes you do really stupid things.
But it also makes you do some right things as well.
Eventually.
If you're here and you've got your eyes open and you haven't had drugs and you've detoxed, come on, you understand? Look around you.
I know.
This is beautiful.
If the shock...
Get up in the morning, you're going to look out on trees and grass and everything else.
If the shock don't kill you.
If the shock don't kill you, but I don't think it will.
No, it won't. It just feels like it. You know when you fall in love with everything because you wake up and it really, really hurts for about 10 minutes in retrospect, and then everything is lovely.
So going back to Terry.
Yeah.
So then I come in this day, and Mike Howard, the probation officer, my parole officer as well, said, Chris, Terry's done a runner. I can only tell you that I was sick up to my... And he said, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to go down and get him. And the director here said to me, Chris, it's not your job to go and get him. He's got to be here because he wants to be here, not because you want him here. Do you understand the logic of that?
Yes.
He's got to be here because he wants to be treated.
Well, that's like what we were talking about at church, free will, isn't it?
That's right. Free will, he's got the choice. Anyway, I thought, well, Chris, you've made a lot of mistakes in your life. He's a young guy, he's gone off to do his thing, and he'll come back when he's ready. So anyway, like nothing, put it out of my mind, and about 3 months later, Mulcahy came in and gave me a letter. And he said, Chris, I've got a letter here for you. I've still got it. And it said, we're sorry to inform you that Terry died of a drug-induced asphyxiation. He knew there was a better way but couldn't let go of the old. I was devastated. Here was a young guy who had all this. He had the choice of being able to do something with his life. Yet he chose death.
Yeah.
Tell me the logic in that. Is there any logic?
I don't think there is any. My third wife, we were only married for a very, very brief time. It wasn't proper or nothing, but common law, like. And that's how we felt. And before I'd come along, she'd been engaged with a couple of unsavoury they were in a doorman business, so they were, you know, but they used to beat her up a lot. Smack the granny out of me, she used to say. That's what I learned off of her, like that expression. And poor Lou just couldn't cope with that, and consequently she was rather difficult for a recovering alcoholic to be around on account of she required a lot of assistance, and I couldn't watch, and I had to go away. Lou subsequently died, and I found out about it last summer at the age of 43. It was obviously an accident, and I know this because I'd had to prevent accidents from happening because people forget how many pills they've taken or how many drinks they've had or whatever. But that caused me to, you know, as like a Nazarite, to kind of get really angry and grow my hair and my beard for 9 months. I only had a haircut last week, so I was coming to see my granddad and you. It was down there. I was in mourning, and it's, come on, you're going on tour, stop, you know, coming out again, sunshine.
But you see that, look, you've mentioned a girl. I came to work here one day, and someone said, Lisa's cut herself. She was from Petersborough.
Yeah.
I mean, nice girl, always said hello. Anyway, I went upstairs to her bedroom, knocked at the door, and I went in, and she was sitting on the bed. I went and sat down on the bed next to her. I said, Lisa, what have you done? She said, Chris, she said, I just couldn't take anymore. I said, well, what happened? She said, it's me. She said, it's inside me. I said, no, what's inside you is a good person. You know, you're struggling with that. You know, because you've got the whole world, it wants you, just don't want to let you go. I said, I can see the marks and the cuts on you now. Have you cut yourself anywhere else? And she said, yes, I had. And she pulled her trousers down. She cut all the inside of her thighs. I went and got the nurse, sorted her out. And the Ley said, we can't no longer cope with you. This place said. Anyway, I went down.
Really?
Yeah, I went down. I got her from the hospital, and I took her to the Jesus Army on the Woodstock Road.
Good for you.
I knew the pastor there.
Good for you.
And I took her there, and the pastor said to me, I said, look, Lisa, I said, she's done our programme, lovely girl, just a bit messed up, needs some love and support. I think she needs a shot of Jesus. He said, you can tell me that. He said, but Chris, don't sell her to us. Let her explain herself. I was so keen, I needed to find a safe place. So I'm fighting. I'm in the ring, you understand what I'm saying? And I'm not going to take no for an answer.
Yeah, and almost give it back to her, and she might turn into a snake and ruin it. At least you've got it.
I've got it.
But he wasn't going to let you have that, was he?
He wasn't going to let me have that.
She had to do it herself.
So she had to do it. And when she spoke, it really came out very, very sincere.
Thank God
he said, Lisa, he said, we've got women here. He said, there's a bed for you, and there's a place to stay. And you know what she did? She'd been there about 6 or 7 weeks, and she sent me an invite to Jesus Rejoice in Northampton. It's a massive big place where all these Jesus people all meet, and I went there, and it was a joyous occasion. Anyway, shortly, maybe about a couple of months later, the pastor rang me. He said, we've had to let Lisa go, but we've not chucked her out in the community. She's living with one of our women in the community, and we're supporting her. But she went back to Peterborough, and she brought drugs back to the Jesus Army house, and we can't have that here. But we've got all her benefits and everything else.
How does one exercise blessed and merciful in a situation like that?
Yeah, that's right. But honestly, they did everything they possibly could to support her. So I don't see her again until I come out of St Aldate's Church in Oxford, and as I'm coming down outside, I see Lisa there. And she's got a little dog. Hello, Lisa. I said, how are you? Oh, she said, I'm great. I've got my little dog. I've got my boyfriend. Everything's absolutely great. I said, I'm so pleased for you, Lisa. She'd been a prostitute and everything. She's only a young kid, 19. And I turned around and said, look, just keep yourself on the right track. Chris, I am. I've got my little flat, I love it. And I went away feeling pleased that the Jesus Army had really done something. Got her sorted out and everything. And about a year later, I read in the Oxford Mail that this chap and this girl had gone and set fire to this Indian kind of store where they sold tobacco and drinks and all that kind of thing. They'd pushed paper through the door and set fire to the shop.
And that was her?
And that was her, yeah. And she went in front of the judge and she got a prison sentence, and they sent her to Broadmoor where she committed suicide.
I'm so sorry.
You understand?
I do understand, actually, because...
How am I able to deal with things like that?
I don't know. It's
because
like...
God helps me to deal with it. Do you remember?
Do you remember when you phoned me after I'd sent the Ley Community here an email asking for an audience?
I do remember that, yeah.
And you asked me out of the blue, why does a caged bird sing? And I was a tad flummoxed, because people don't usually ask me profound questions at that hour of the day. I don't get out much. And so here's my considered response. Now,
do you know why I asked that question? I wanted to know about your soul. Could it reach you?
Yeah.
Could you understand why the caged bird sung?
Yes, I could.
And you obviously did, because you went away and wrote the most beautiful...
Well, I didn't want to look at Miss Angelou's version of the same question because it concerns racism and quite frankly, well, I've never been on the receiving end of that or on the giving end of that.
Yeah.
So I had to make it about something else, and cages is a prison. Racism is a prison of kind. I've been in a psychiatric hospital. I've been in, well, it's close enough, isn't it?
Yeah.
So this was my response. I didn't want to plagiarise Miss Angelou, so Mr. Lambrianou, in response to your question, does a caged bird sing because his wings can't fly? These bars keep the stars from falling from the sky. Bite the hand that feeds me, my neck gets wrung. That's our Pierre point of view, the great unsung. Does a caged bird sing because he still can? Sweeter in defeat than the most victorious man. Caged birds aren't notorious for singing prisons curious, but every morn at freedom's call comes the dawn chorus glorious.
Does a caged bird sing? Every hue of blue, repenting laments, confessing unto you. No, most days he is short of shrift. We are not worthy of his gift. But once in every clear blue moon, he'll hit you with a killer tune. Why does a caged bird sing? Why still do his things? This caged sage is engaged in what it takes to be a slave to mankind's whim. Bird, play that again, but freer when he cries than any man. Justifies, he sings because he can. There you go.
Thanks, mate.
Excerpt from page 266 of Escape from the Kray Madness by Christopher Lambrianou. One day I asked to see Mr. Rutledge, one of the prison's tutors. It was an enlightening experience for him, not me. When he walked into my cell and saw my collection of classic literature and books on religion, history and philosophy, he said, "What are they for? For show, aren't they?" There was something in his tone I didn't like. "If you say so," I said. He picked up Krishnamurti's The Kingdom of Happiness. "This is very interesting," he gave a sort of smirk, if you can find 5 minutes to read it. I was hurt. He didn't know me. He didn't really want to. He was patronising me, insulting my intelligence. "I already have," I said. He looked at me disbelieving, so I told him about it. He looked shocked, then impressed. Then we started chatting about the books in general, and particularly Oscar Wilde's children's stories, which I'd found moving and compassionate, illustrating how much the great man understood human nature. After a while, Rutledge lowered his head. "Mr. Lambrianou," he said somberly, "we have done you the greatest disservice that anyone could do to another human being. I'm very, very sorry." Mr. Rutledge had underestimated Mr. Lambrianou's depth and his sensitivity and his intelligence. And as Mr. Rutledge was forced to apologise, I wish to apologise on behalf of the entertainment industry in its entirety for focusing exclusively on a tiny part of Mr. Lambrianou's life. This has been the story of a good citizen, a solid citizen, the rise and rise of God's foot soldier. Chris Lambrianou. God bless you all.